Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that every choice you have ever made still exists, not as a memory, but as a living reality unfolding somewhere else. Not as science fiction, not as fantasy, but as a serious scientific possibility discussed by physicists, neuroscientists, and philosophers. The frightening truth about parallel worlds is not that they might exist, but that if they do, your brain may already be interacting with the idea in ways you don't consciously realize. Modern physics suggests that reality might not be a single linear story, but a branching structure of possibilities. And neuroscience quietly echoes this idea every time your mind simulates outcomes, predicts futures, and constructs alternative versions of yourself. At the quantum level, particles don't behave like solid objects but like probability waves, existing in multiple potential states until observed. This is not a metaphor. This is measurable experimental physics. Now pause and consider something unsettling. Your brain operates in a surprisingly similar way. It does not experience reality directly. It builds a model. What you see, feel, and believe is a controlled hallucination generated by neural networks interpreting limited sensory data. In other words, your perception of one world is already a filtered version among countless possible interpretations. Parallel worlds may sound cosmic, but cognitively, they are intimate. They live inside prediction, imagination, memory, and fear. From an evolutionary perspective, the brain's primary job is not to show you truth, but to keep you alive. It does this by running constant simulations. What if I say this? What if I do that? What if danger appears? These internal simulations are neural branches, alternative realities evaluated at lightning speed. Neuroplasticity allows these pathways to strengthen or weaken based on experience, meaning the brain is constantly pruning and reinforcing its own internal multiverse. Every habit you form is a universe you revisit more often. Every fear you avoid is a universe you let collapse. Stress amplifies this process. Under chronic stress, the brain's threat detection systems, especially the amygdala, become hyperactive, biasing perception toward worst-case scenarios. The mind begins to live in darker parallel worlds that haven't happened but feel real. Cortisol reshapes neural circuits, narrowing attention and limiting perceived options. This is why fear feels like destiny. But it isn't. It is a protective algorithm. Here comes the unsettling part. Many interpretations of quantum mechanics, such as the many worlds interpretation, suggest that all possible outcomes of a quantum event actually occur, each in its own branching universe. There is no collapse, only divergence. If this is true, reality is not choosing a path. It is exploring all of them. Now translate this idea inward. Psychologically, your identity is not fixed. You are a dynamic system shaped by feedback loops, memories, and biological constraints. The version of you listening right now is only one expression of a much larger potential space. Every decision suppresses other versions, but they do not disappear. They remain as unrealized possibilities stored in neural architecture, influencing regret, motivation, and longing. This is why certain thoughts feel haunting. Your brain is aware, at a deep level, of roads not taken. Not because they exist somewhere physically, but because your neural system evolved to track lost possibilities as information. Biology does not waste data. From a systems perspective, the human brain is an energy-efficient prediction engine. It minimizes surprise by anticipating the future. Parallel worlds, in this sense, are prediction errors waiting to happen. Each possible future is weighted by probability, emotional cost, and survival value. When reality deviates from prediction, the brain updates its model. This is learning. This is adaptation. This is also why the idea of parallel worlds feels both fascinating and terrifying. It mirrors the architecture of your own cognition. Consider perception. You assume you see the world as it is. But neuroscience shows that vision is delayed, reconstructed, and edited. Your brain fills gaps, stabilizes motion, and even invents colors that do not exist in the external world. The world you experience is already one version among many. Hallucinations, dreams, and illusions reveal how easily perception can slide into alternate realities without external change. The boundary between worlds is thinner than you think. And here is where fear enters. If multiple realities exist, What does that say about meaning, responsibility, and selfhood? If every outcome happens somewhere, does choice matter? The frightening truth is that this question misunderstands how systems work. Meaning does not come from exclusivity. It comes from constraints. In biology, life emerges not because all possibilities exist, but because only certain pathways are stable. Your body is a temporary pattern of energy resisting entropy. Your mind is a dynamic equilibrium between order and chaos. Parallel worlds, if they exist, do not erase meaning. They highlight how fragile and precious local experience is. This specific configuration of neurons firing, this exact emotional state, this moment of awareness, is rare in the vast space of possibilities. Even if infinite versions exist, this one cannot be replaced. Now here is the twist. The moments when you feel weakest, when your mind freezes or dissociates in the face of overwhelming uncertainty, are not failures. They are protective shutdowns. The brain limits exploration when the cost of error is too high. From an evolutionary standpoint, freezing is sometimes safer than choosing. The brain collapses its internal multiverse not because it lacks options, but because it is conserving energy and preventing damage. What feels like paralysis is often a sophisticated survival response. Neuroscience shows that during intense stress, higher cognitive functions temporarily downregulate, allowing older, faster circuits to take control. You are not broken. You are protected. This reframes fear. Fear is not the enemy of curiosity. It is its boundary condition. Without fear, systems destabilize. Without limits, there is no structure. Even in physics, parallel worlds arise from strict mathematical rules. Chaos emerges from order, not randomness. The human mind is no different. You are an energy network shaped by biological constraints, cultural inputs, and personal history. Thought is a signal propagating through this network, sometimes amplifying, sometimes dampening. When you obsess over alternate versions of yourself, the brain is not tormenting you. It is mapping the landscape of possibility. The danger arises when the map is mistaken for the territory. Living entirely in imagined worlds, whether utopian or catastrophic, disconnects the system from feedback. Depression can be understood as getting stuck in a low-energy basin of the mind's potential landscape. Anxiety is the opposite, an overactive exploration of negative futures. Both are distortions of a mechanism designed for adaptation. Parallel worlds are frightening not because they threaten reality, but because they reveal how much of reality is constructed. The universe may be vast and branching, but your experience is local and embodied. Your nervous system anchors you to one timeline through sensation, memory, and action. Choice matters because it reshapes neural pathways. Even if another version of you chose differently somewhere else, this version carries the consequences here. Physics does not absolve responsibility. Biology enforces it. Philosophy reminds us that meaning is not given by the cosmos but generated by conscious agents within it. The most unsettling realization is this. You do not need parallel universes for alternate lives to exist. Your brain already contains them as dormant patterns. The frightening truth is not that there are many worlds, but that you are constantly negotiating between them internally. Every moment, the brain selects one signal over countless others. One interpretation over many, one action over infinite inaction. Consciousness is the act of selection. Awareness is the narrowing of possibility into experience. And that narrowing is what makes life vivid. So ask yourself this. If reality is not a single path but a field of possibilities, which signals are you amplifying? Which internal worlds are you feeding with attention? Which ones are collapsing from neglect? Science does not tell you which world is best. It tells you how selection happens. The rest is up to you. If this perspective shifted how you think about choice, fear, or identity, take a moment to reflect and share your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you want more science-driven explorations of the mind and reality, and subscribe to MindSpark Science to stay curious, grounded, and awake in a universe far stranger than it first appears.